All right. Open office, April 2019. Welcome to Monzo. Thank you everyone for coming. This will be a great one. We're going to talk about changes we're making to our apps and kind of how and why we're making those changes. But before we start, I was asked to talk about logistics. So we have fire exits on both sides and bathrooms at the back. Now I feel like a flight attendant. Yeah, that's everything you need to know. So I'm Vuokko. I'm a design director here, and I'm responsible for design across our new revenue initiatives and our new product areas, and also our core product area. And one of the cool things inside that core product area is a squad we're calling product platform, and that's the work we're going to talk about tonight. So I've been at Monzo for about 2 years now, and this is one of the most exciting projects I've worked on that whole time. And one of the reasons it's exciting is because it's new and it's happening right now, obviously, and we haven't figured out all the pieces yet. But another reason why it's so exciting is that we're really laying the foundation to scale the product way into the future. So I'll take you back for a sec to when I first started as a designer at Monzo 2 years ago. We were still just a prepaid app, and there were about a dozen of us working in product, so we were one team. And fast forward to today, we're, I don't know, maybe 200 people in product, depends on how you count that. But we're basically arranged in 15 independent product squads. So there's a lot of us working across the product, making changes, building new features and functionalities for the app. Spoilers. Here we go. There we go. Here we are. Cool. So there's a lot of us making new features and functionalities for the app, and that's so great. But one of the things we've scaled less well is the product itself, in my opinion. So we still have the same old prepaid app structure and navigation that we had in the prepaid days, and the app is really starting to suffer under like all the new features and functionalities that we're adding. So we kind of failed to create the space and the surface areas for all these new things that we're adding. And so the way most things start at Monzo is through like a written proposal. And so back in maybe February, I wrote one of those proposals, and I kind of outlined all the problems that I saw in the app and its current navigation structure and all of that, and kind of suggested a way forward that could carry us for the next little while. And we talked about it, and we made a plan kind of how to get from here to there, and all the while making sure that what we had in mind is actually something that works for you. And in that proposal, I used this Lego comparison where kind of we had this like nice little foundation, and then we've stuck pieces on wherever we can and new things, and it just keeps growing. So this is kind of the before state, and then this is the after, where hopefully, well, what we're doing now is we're taking all the pieces apart, looking at them, and then putting them back together in like a new sturdier foundation and formation, so we can like add new things in a safer way. And we have almost 2 million customers now, so we obviously need to do this very safely. We don't want to drop anything. Obviously, money is very central to all of our lives, so we need to do this carefully. I was thinking, and I remembered back when we migrated everyone over from prepaid to current accounts, we were talking about this like airplane that we're flying like at cruising altitude, and that we were bringing another airplane like alongside that first airplane, and that we would have to make the process so smooth that like as a customer, you can just walk from one plane to another midair without even spilling your gin and tonic. And so what we're doing now and what we're talking about now, it's not a new plane, it's the same plane. We think it's pretty good, but we're just making some changes. So basically we're adding like new navigation tools for the pilots, or like more legroom and bigger TVs, and I don't know, removing the ashtrays that no one uses anymore. Maybe not the best analogy, but I hope you get it. So I'm now going to hand it over to Bruno and Stuart, who are working in the squad that's building this for us, and they'll share more, and I'll also be around for the evening if you want to chat more or ask any questions. Thanks.
Thank you. Hello, welcome. I'm Stuart, this is me. I'm a product designer here at Monzo. Fun fact, who's updated their Slack image before? Yeah, a lot of us. Do you ever get that response when someone says something and comments on that picture? That happened with me. Someone said this was moody and seductive. Yeah. Anyway, enough about my moody face. I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about this. Not new Monzo, not Monzo v3, as some community members have suggested in the forum, but new navigation. Ultimately, it's a better way to discover new things, see and manage your accounts, budget better, and make money work for you. Exciting times ahead. I'm going to rewind a bit, take you on a quick look at the Monzo app, both past and present, explain why we're doing this, then talk about what we're doing next and how we're doing it. Then at the end, there's a Q&A for myself, Bruno, Voco. For now, let's go back to 2015, a long time ago. It was the year of Left Shark. Remember that? Hotline Bling came out. Great tune. This dress was a major talking point. Definitely white and gold. Talk to me after. But more importantly, Monzo or Mondo at the time had launched, and the app looked a bit like this. Does anyone remember this? Okay, cool. More people than I expected. Then some time later, we updated it. It got some TLC, just 3 tabs still along the bottom. Your feed, send money, chat with us, get help. It was minimal, it was clean, and it was just a prepaid card. Then in 2016, we added more along with a slight design change, a little bit of polish. Spending and card were released, and the tab bar started to get busier as we added new functionality to the app. But fast forward through 2017, 2018 to now. To most people, it looks like this. It's a current account. It's no longer a prepaid card. There's what we call Pulse, the graph at the top. But as you can see along the bottom, card is now account to cater for more things than just your card. And send is now payments with a ton of more features than just sending money. Not only this, but small things such as communicating new features becomes a problem. Take, for example, when we push you the opportunity to change energy provider, save money, but you go on a big spending spree, you know, Hublot, Louis Vuitton, the normal stuff, the average user, that feed item is gone and out of sight, and it's like you never saw it, right? We want to get better at the small things, like communicating new features and make your Monzo experience better. Great question. I found this GIF and I've put it in not because it's a perfect visual representation of what I'm talking about, but mainly actually it's quite satisfying. Shall we just sit here for like 30 minutes and just look at this? No, but in some ways it does actually describe the topic of this evening. At Monzo, we started with that one Lego brick, and we've kept adding and adding and adding, to the point where we kept adding, the app began to start looking like this, as Woko mentioned. A bit messy. We lost some polish. It was sharp in some places, but not life-threatening as that axe may look. It just started to get bloated and disconnected as we grew and shipped lots of new functionality. And now our goal is to build a better foundation for product squads to continue building new features, smooth out the edges, remove the sharp axe, still ship fast and keep adding new features, but in an app that is structured to withstand the rate at which we're building. I like to imagine the app as having like a belt around it, but it's currently bursting out of that belt. I've talked a little bit about the problems we faced going through the transition from prepaid to current account and now to joint accounts. There are too many tabs to add more. Summary doesn't work for everyone. Feed is more than just your money. It's become really hard to push new things to users. And the account tab doesn't stretch beyond Monzo-related things. So let's take a look at what we're going to do to build a more sustainable app. Easy for me to say. We're going from having 5 tabs back to 3, like in 2015, back when Left Shark was the thing and Hotline Bling was on the radio. Home, payments, and help will be primary and center at the bottom. You'll navigate from your home screen to view your pots, manage your card, get to your profile, access summary, and budgeting. We've merged what was home, account, and summary, opening up space in the new structure, both horizontally and vertically. The new structure also adds layers, which enables us to build UI components on top of one another, giving product squads the real estate to keep building functionality. However, this is a work in progress, and it's by no means the final masterpiece. We've also introduced multiple anchor points, so you're not always hit with actions front and center. Seeing your financial visibility and spending is still primary. We've added in a much simpler budgeting widget to your home screen, where you can tap and navigate to see more. This will look slightly different if you haven't set a budget, but it will still remain the access point for summary. Communicating new features and functionality, the non-transactional information will exist in a new home away from the feed. Your feed will then become the home for your incoming and outgoing payments and not where we send you announcements. And for joint account holders, accessing your other accounts at the swipe of a thumb. Being able to switch from your personal Monzo account to your joint account on the home screen, controlling what you see, belief, that in the feed. We won't necessarily stop there either. What about if you could see your Amex credit card? What about if you could see your NatWest current account? This opens up space to do these things, whereas the current structure doesn't afford us that ability. I'm going to now pass over to Bruno, who will talk about the processes in getting there.
Thanks, Stuart. Hello, everyone. My name is Bruno. I'm a product manager in the product platform squad, and I want to walk with you through what has been the process so far in this project. So, as you've seen from what Stuart has just showed you, we want to bring some significant improvements to the Monzo app. But it's important to keep in mind that there's 15 product teams working on the same canvas at the same time. We release an app version every week. And there's roughly 2 million customers that rely on the Monzo app on a daily basis to manage their finances. So the type of impact we want to have with this project has some significant risks. And we wanted to be aware of them as early as possible. So we kicked off this project with a futurespective, and it's very similar to a retrospective, but you do it at the very beginning of the project instead of the end. So we started by getting everyone in the same room and asking, imagine that you're 4 to 6 months ahead from now. We've just finished the new navigation project. And let's all say what went terribly wrong and exceptionally well. We had some interesting findings, and we had no shortage of things that went well and that didn't go so well. One of the most interesting ones for me was how we all suddenly agree that it's very likely that customers will not love the new navigation at first. There might be some pushback with initiatives that some of the decisions that we take. And this is easy to empathize because we also sometimes are skeptical about changes that other big tech companies do. But hopefully you would ease into it and start using Monzo in a slightly different way. But there was a slightly darker and grimmer version of this, which is maybe customers will not like it after all. Maybe after 4 weeks or 6 months, less and less customers are referring Monzo to their friends. Our referral mechanics completely tank. User growth stops. Customers don't discover the features that generate revenue for Monzo. And this could be a big problem to the extent of perhaps we had to go roll back to the version that we had before we kicked this off. And this is fine because we use this to model the entire approach based on de-risking the project as early as possible. At this point, it's worth pointing out that this vision that we had for the new navigation is one approach. We could have taken many different approaches. We could have gone the complete opposite way. Maybe your home screen should be a massive pulse graph. But we decided that this was the step that we wanted to take forward. And we want to validate that that is the right approach as soon as possible. So the question that we ask ourselves is, how do we make sure that we're building the right things? Now, at Monzo, what we usually do is to break this down into a bunch of different pieces and start working our way from where we are today to where we want to be, to iterate along the way, and to validate some of the underlying assumptions behind our work. And this is what has been very, very interesting about this project and has been completely different to everything that I have worked on at Monzo until now. Because the scope of this project can be so huge that you might end up focusing on implementation and specific solutions that you're not even sure if they're the right ones. What we want to validate, it's the system of changes that we want to introduce, all the components that together create the new navigation. So how do we validate this foundational change to the navigation system? We started by asking ourselves if we only had 2 weeks to validate the approach, what would we do? What can we do this week to get us closer to that answer? We couple this with some very brutal execution and started doing something not from where we are today, but something as close as possible and as fast as possible to where we want to be. We created a completely new playground that nobody else had access to. It was the same version of the Monzo app. It was heavily feature flagged. We tried it inside of our team, and we started testing a bunch of different things. This allowed us to delete portions of the code that we didn't want to make decisions on right now, to move things around, and to be bolder in some of the assumptions that we want to test. Then we gave it to the rest of the company. There's roughly 800 people working at Monzo right now. About 100 people from staff chose to turn it on. And the vast majority of them turned it off right afterwards. The biggest piece of feedback we received was, how do I turn it off? The version that we shipped internally was very, very broken. This was the expectation. We were very embarrassed about it, and this was kind of the point, because by removing a lot of the functionality that we did not know the best way to handle that, we learned what people missed the most, what was the critical path for our own staff to continue using the new navigation. And then we wanted to extend this to our community members. So out of curiosity, how many people here have started using the new navigation? Okay, quite a few of you. By the way, thank you so much for all the comments that you have been writing on the community forum. It has been absolutely instrumental for us to know what's really broken and what we need to do next. So what we did with the community members was go to the forum and say, hey, like this is the rough idea. Here's how we think it might look. These are some of the things that we're doing, removing tabs. We're not sure about budgeting. Pulse is gone. And all of these changes were received with some significant pushback in the beginning. Not everyone was on board with the changes, and not everyone was fully aligned if this was the right direction. Then a few days later, we allowed the community members to actually download the app, and we enabled it for them. And they could take it in their pocket, the new version of the Monzo navigation, the same that we were using internally. The response went from, this is very broken, to, this is very broken, but I get it why you're doing it. And it was a first glimpse of validating some of the assumptions that we want to test. But then ultimately, it's a very specific type of customer. Staff and community members know Monzo inside out. How would Monzo new navigation perform with people that have never used Monzo before? So at that point, we said, well, we have no idea. And instead of running blindly without knowing what we're doing, because ultimately we were going from product instinct and design confidence, right? We decided to give it to new customers. So as of last week, 10% of any new customer will get the new navigation. This allowed us to make some very simple validations of our customers discovering like the Monzo value as fast as everyone else that has a standard navigation. We don't have enough data on this yet. Of course, it's only been 5 days, but at least we can validate that when it comes to activating your card and adding money to your account, it's the same. And I'm sure we'll find many problems with the data it's continuing to come in, but at least for now, we are confident that we are still in the right track. And it's another sign of validation. What I want to get at this is a vision-led project, and it's a design-led project. And the most interesting thing about this, for me at least, has been finding the right balance between how can you take a leap of faith, but do so in confidence that you're heading in the right direction, and how can we validate that as early as possible. We want to move fast, but we also want to move in control. And this is where all of these domains have been coming together, with data and with research as well. At the end of this project, we want to have the same 15 product teams performing as well as they are performing today, shipping new releases every week, and working on the same canvas that they're working on. It should be seamless, and that goes without saying. It also goes without saying that we want to improve some of the product interfaces that we currently have, to figure out the right abstractions for how to interact with our customers and how to interface with the app. It also goes without saying that the roughly 2 million customers that we already have will feel that they have an upgraded experience, that we've continued to solve the problems that we had already solved for them, and we do so in a better way, more delightful way. But we will, as a team, have never really succeeded if we don't prepare ourselves to build the right spaces in the product for when we are with 50 product teams or 100 product teams. There will be problems that we don't even know what they are, new problems, the wicked problems. And these are the problems that all of you will have in a few years as well. And not just you, but to 200,000 plus, or 200 million plus customers that haven't yet opened a Monzo account. And we hope that they will join us in the coming years. What problems will they have? We need to be aware that they will probably be joining from countries outside of the UK. We might be in different geographies, different currencies, different languages. And I think it's important to note as well that our customer base is getting more and more diverse. And as that happens, we need to be more flexible so that the Monzo app adapts to how you want to manage your money and how you want to think about your finances, instead of us being opinionated on how you should do it yourself. Now I'm going to give back to Stuart to talk about what the future looks like.
The future is massive. We have a great opportunity now at Monzo to start building and creating an even better experience. The next steps could include summary being refined in order to help you manage your money better. We've introduced a small widget, which you saw earlier on in the screens as a quick snapshot, but we'll look to reintroduce that joy element it's really missing. Custom categories is something users have longed for. We're looking into this and how you can use summary and categories to budget your money better, with a range of iconography, colors, giving you the option to manage them to make spending work for you. Simplified budgeting, which I just mentioned, but taking away the complexities that it brings around large one-off transactions, holidays, moving money to and from pots, and being able to money manage daily, weekly, not just monthly. And things like account aggregation. What I'm getting at is with this is, where would you go to see all of your money? The answer should be Monzo. With open banking APIs, we're afforded the ability to link your other accounts into the Monzo app. Your Monzo accounts, pots, other current accounts, external credit cards, loans, pensions, mortgages, the list goes on. And the idea is that you can see all of this inside your Monzo app. You don't have to go anywhere else. And with the new restructure, we create space for bringing the likes of your Amex card into your home tab, seeing transactions. Imagine seeing when a payment is due in Monzo, not in the separate app. Seeing the interest you're paying separate from what you've spent, and being able to use the Monzo app directly to pay it off. So I think it's fair to say the future is massive. The glimpse into the future is by no means concrete and final. It could all be wrong. We don't know if it's right yet, but that's why we're doing this experiment. The processes that Bruno mentioned will validate whether we should move forward into the new world and change all the things I've just mentioned. But we're excited, and we hope you're excited too. Thank you. We're going to pass the microphone now and answer any questions that you may have. Be nice. Anyone got any questions?
Oh, that's exciting. Yes, I was just wondering, obviously with fast-growing companies, having technical debt is quite a problem that is suffered by many fast-growing startups. I'm not sure I'd count you as a startup anymore, but I just wondered what made you decide that now was the right time to make this change?
Can you repeat the question?
Why now make the change? Why we're so big? Or?
Yeah. Well, why did you decide that now was the right time to do this, and why didn't it happen earlier, or why was
Right.
now the time?
All right, so why now? There's probably many reasons for it, but the main one in my mind is Monzo's kind of gone through different phases where we were building the prepaid app, and then we got the banking license, and we built the current accounts, and then we felt like we kind of lost some speed there, building new features, all the current account features, and then we spent a lot of time just kind of building many things fast, and then those added up, and then we got to where we are now. So it just feels like part of the cycle. But also we have enough people to do it now, and it feels like if not now, then the problem will just be worse in the future.
Hey, so you spoke, Bruno, quite a lot about like evaluative testing. So after you built it, you tested it within the company. Do you favor that over like a formative testing methodology, like before development, or which way do you go?
I think a lot of the things that we're building, you actually have to use it on a day-to-day basis. And we knew some of the changes we want to bring, and we can look at them as much as we want. But at the end of the day, you need to experience it. You need to look at the Monzo app in your pocket and say, this is how much money I have. This is how much I should put aside right now. Or yeah, I think it's a very experiential experiment if you want. You can't really do it outside of actually building it. Oh, sorry.
Hi. I'm just wondering, I've seen other companies that went through the same process of changing their app, and usually they choose to go with a hamburger menu at some point. So I'm wondering if you think you haven't reached that stage yet, or if you considered it and for some reason decided not to go with it. Just wondering if that was part of the process.
No, I don't think we'll go that route. I think if you think of it like a more button, it's the place to hide things. And we are talented enough and a good enough design team to create an experience that you don't need to bury things away. We shouldn't be doing things like that. And also other people are doing it, other companies are doing it. We don't want to be the same as every other company. We're different. We want to create a much better experience where you can access everything instantly. You shouldn't be looking for things. So we won't go that route.
Hi. I just wanted to ask, are you guys looking into differentiated types of products that you're going to be offering that's not necessarily sort of conventional sort of banking, or are you guys just solely focusing on sort of like the app and just the user experience?
Can you give an example?
It's going to sound really random, but I don't know, maybe something like using like, I don't know, VR or something, just something different to kind of give the user a different experience. I'm just sort of, that's a random example, but just something different and unconventional to banking.
I think we're definitely gonna stay with like the touch device within like the touch device paradigms for now. But we are one of our like goals for this year actually is to build things that will make people say, oh, I can't believe my bank did this for me, or I can't believe banks haven't always done it this way. So we are looking at kind of new features that you wouldn't expect your bank to do. That's we have like kind of many squads looking at new ideas and new things that we can build that people won't expect. So we want to have that surprise and delight.
Can we get the mic here? Yeah.
Hi, thank you. In the prototypes you showed us earlier, the designs you showed us earlier, you showed cards from other banks, but they were quite separate for the time being. Could you imagine combining all of a customer's spend in a single narrative? And do you imagine that when you do that, you'll be sending Amex customers notifications about their Amex spend through the Monzo app?
So would we show a combination of all your connected things in the app? Why not? I think we've talked about like a mega feed of everything. I don't know if it should be the default view unless you want it to be. Never thought about the notification thing. That's interesting. We'll think about it.
I think we're doing a lot of financial needs research with the user research team at the moment, and if something like that comes out of it, where people manage their money like that, then we should be able to create an experience to enable users to do so. Like, our aim is to make money work for everyone, and if that's how everyone manages their money, then and wants to see their money, then we should be able to create that experience. Immediately, possibly not, but that's not to say in the long term, yes.
Hi. I just wanted to ask a question from Bruno, because you mentioned how diverse your customer base is, and it's going to be more and more diverse. And I was just thinking about individual needs, and have you thought about personalizing the app more? So based on how people use it, could they move around widgets and stuff? Because I found the budgeting widget quite interesting. Has that come up?
Yes, so a lot of the thinking that we're putting behind this is to make it so that you can customize it to some degree, right? So I think there's parts of the app that we certainly want to make you able to customize. And I think the account section is a very good example. The way you want to group your accounts together and group them and sort them. So an example with the Amex card is maybe for some people, Amex is a daily spending card. For other people, might be an expense card or a travel card. So maybe if it's your daily card, you put it next to your Monzo card, you group it as daily spending, you see common feed, right? But maybe for you, it's something completely different. You put it with something else. So we're definitely looking into that. And I think that has been one of the guiding principles so that the app can adapt to you as much as possible. I think it's also safe to say with that, it's very difficult to allow you to move everything around and customize it that much.
Hi guys. Thank you for a very entertaining presentation. I have one question, kind of around the design side of it. As a designer myself, like, what have you found to be the most kind of like educational, but also the most enjoyable parts of this whole process up until where you are now?
Hello? Yeah, breaking the mic. Breaking everything. And just kind of like imagine cutting a piece of like a magazine up and then just like gluing everything together like you did in school to create a collage. That's kind of like what we've been doing, using existing components and breaking them and restructuring them into what we have in the new navigation. That for me has been one of the most exciting things. Long term, it's being allowed to kind of have that freedom to kind of do whatever to some extent. But that freedom to kind of make assumptions and just iterate and keep building, I think has been one of the most enjoyable things for me.
We've also learned that universal design principles work. It's been nice to have that proven. Like some of the design leaps that Bruno was talking about there, like we were thinking about from principles and it works. So I'm happy to have proven that again.
Hi. Is there any plans as part of this redesign process to increase or kind of look at the web.monzo.com? Because at the moment it's kind of for emergencies. I don't know if there's any, because for example, if you're going to introduce more cards and like a kind of global management system, I'd rather do that from a desktop than a mobile. I don't know if there's any plans to do that or whether it's going to be part of the Monzo Plus offering or what your plans are on that.
I mean, as part of this project, we're not looking at the web. We're trying to minimize the scope as much as possible in this, because otherwise it can be so huge. But I think that's a good point. Web.monzo.com hasn't been taken advantage massively. It's just for emergencies. I think, and I might be wrong on this, but I think the first things that we would look at that would probably be for business banking accounts that make more sense to use on the web than on the phone. But that would definitely be outside of what we're doing in this team.
I wanted to find out what was the decision behind the pulse graph for this project in terms of a visual way of representing your balance across time. And have you explored other ways of visualizing your money rather than a scrollable feed?
I can take this one. Yeah, So we have thought about them, but kind of what Bruno said about the scope. So we're just trying to keep focusing on getting from here to there, and then we can figure out what we keep saying is like whatever isn't working right now, we can remove it and then replace it with something that actually like look at the need, which is what you just said, like like a visual way of navigating the timeline. We can definitely add that back. But the first step is kind of removing the things that felt like they weren't working and we were aware of. But it's something we'll continue to look at.
Hi. One of the new things that you sort of showed in there was the ability to look at other cards which aren't Monzo on your app. So I was wondering, like, sort of, how are you able to do this? Fairly new thing. But I heard that it was sort of new government policy to have an open government API for all of banking to be able to look at sort of whatever. So I thought surely that must be one of the newest things you guys be able to develop. So I was wondering if you could tell us more about it.
Yeah, we have been using a external company and their API to integrate external credit cards. That's something we've been doing, and it's live somewhat. It's been in labs, so people have been using it outside of Monzo. So we've been using an external API to do that, but to comply with regulations, all banks will have to have an API in order to have this, what they're calling open banking, and that's what will allow us to do that. There might be some complexities as we go and integrate so many more things, like pensions and so on, but that's how we're going to do it.
Hey, I was just wondering when you said about sort of like cutting and pasting different bits of the app together, how did you justify which features you cut and paste? Or was it just sort of like research based or just random, see what we can do?
So, yeah. So what decisions did we come to in order to remove certain functionality and keep certain functionality? Right.
So last year we obviously continuously keep an eye on the forum and feedback through customer support and probably 10 different channels. So like have this peripheral vision of what's working and what's not and what people like, what they don't. And then also late last year we did a big round of kind of feedback sessions with people in different positions at Monzo and kind of saw what everyone's pain points were, what the PMs thought pain points were, what designers thought that pain points were, engineers, and then we kind of collected all of this, and then that collective customers and Monzonauts' opinion was kind of the starting point.
Also, just adding one thing to that, there's a big difference between the things that we've removed temporarily versus the things that we want to really remove. Like the pulse graph is probably not coming back. But in the first versions of the new navigation, we didn't have any budgeting features. It never crossed our minds to not include budgeting, but it was just a sequential step so that we can learn the fastest about the things we knew the least.
Oh. Hello? Hello? We still on? Yeah,
Yeah.
good. So as you scaled your product teams, how do you give your feature teams autonomy whilst maintaining a coherent user experience across the whole app? And with that in mind, do you see it continuing sort of inevitable cycles of bloat and then refactor, or do you think you can kind of evolve it in that autonomous way?
There will be some sort of cycle of bloat and coming back, but we are like part of the work with the product platform squad. We have several different platform squads now at Monzo. We, for instance, have a design platform who makes amazing components and like systemizes our design. So we don't get too far from our system in any way. So I think I forgot the first part of your question. Did I answer it? I don't know.
Yeah, kind of. It's how you give autonomy to the product teams
Yeah.
developing
Okay.
features
Yeah.
themselves.
So part of the work of the product platform squad is not to come up with the answers for all of the things. So we're not going to build new features, but we're going to just create more space so other squads can build features in them. So basically just more like real estate in the app.
Yeah, cool, thanks.
This kind of leads on a bit from that previous question, which is you said you have 15 product teams now. And I was just wondering, when you're building something like this, which inevitably kind of hits on stuff, the whole structure of the platform, how do you keep all those teams kind of abreast of what you're doing, I guess? And how do you kind of roll it out in a way that doesn't disrupt the work that they're all doing?
So this is part of the reason why we wanted to, we don't want to have two versions of the app on and on forever in like two parallel universes that go until infinity. It can be painful at sometimes, but ultimately 15 people is not that much. We all meet every week, all the PMs, even though they work in distributed teams, just talking with your colleagues and making sure that we're aligned on what we're doing. Things like showing across the company, showing the work we're doing, some of the principles, the proposal that Voko mentioned that she wrote, like everyone in the company was invited to participate in that discussion. So it's very open to everyone what we're doing, but more specifically within the PM group, we need to make sure that we're aligned on the kind of things that we're doing. A lot of the work that we do is also about creating the right interfaces to interface with the product. So sometimes we might, like us product platform team, might change how a specific component renders to customers, but the interface that other teams use internally can persist over time. And there's a few examples of components we've introduced as a team that we're iterating on, and hopefully it shouldn't make any difference for the rest of the company because the interface is persistent.
We probably have time for a couple more questions, but we also have one from the forum, which is about the status of switching from personal to joint accounts flow and sort of what your thinking is on that.
So as it stands right now, it's very broken. You have to press and hold home to get there, and that's kind of what you do now, but it's not completely evident that you can do that. So something that I showed earlier, when you can swipe through the card on the home screen, that will then become the account switcher, possibly. And we'll think of other intuitive ways as well to do this. That won't necessarily be the only way, but initial thoughts is that will then become the account switcher, which will then change a lot of things, such as the balance that's shown, such as the feed that's beneath, and we'll create a transition that is clear and visible to show that transition. Yeah.
We'll take one more question.
Hello, is it on? Is this gone already? So in terms of, I'm going to ask a very boring sort of process question. So from the inception of sort of new navigation and the idea and the concept of what you're coming up with, how have deadlines, timelines, that sort of stuff, how has that played a part, if at all, or is it literally an open-ended, as long as we achieve X, Y, and Z over the next 6 months, we're happy? Or is there deadlines that people are expecting you guys to hit?
There's certainly, we cannot go on forever and ever. That is very fair to say. We don't have a hard deadline on when we want to get this done. We also want to get this right. We don't want to rush things through at all. There is a component that means product platform as a team is a persistent team. It will carry on into the future. The new navigation is just one of the projects that we are taking on. So as part of that project, we want to validate as fast as possible if the direction is right. And then we can if we validate all of these assumptions, we can build it fairly quickly. It's not about that. It's about making sure that they're the right ones. But beyond that point, I think we can continue working on a lot of the detail, but at least this duality of, are we doing this navigation versus something else? That should be a fairly short period of time. So we started this something like 2 months ago. We will carry on for a bit longer. We don't know until when, but should not be forever.
I think that's it. One last thing. If you'd like to get it, you can get it early. Go to the link, bit.ly/Monzo new nav. Share your feedback with us on Twitter @MakingMonzo. We'd really appreciate it. And if you'd like to stick around after this and chat to us in person, you can do. We'll be here for a little bit longer. Thanks.
Hey.
Yes. I'm trying exactly, and I was
Yes.
Are you putting it?
I think I just.
Well done.
Yeah, well,
Hello. Hello. Hey, congrats. That was awesome. Thank you. Super. All right. Can I give this to you? Apologies for the little thing with the slides at the beginning.
Oh no, that's totally fine. No worries.
But it was completely. It was possible to avoid it because I didn't know.
No. From my perspective, it was great. Like,
Yeah.
Everything tech operated was amazing.
Fortunately, nobody saw the slides, so
Oh, no.
it was all good. Just a little bit funky.
I'm gonna need
But
this
it went really well. Exciting. I immediately went to download the new
Did you?
navigation. Yeah.
Cool. All right.
Awesome. Yes, leave
okay to
everything.
leave that here?
Absolutely.
This is going to be open, right?
Yeah, and I'm here for at least another hour.
Oh,
so
okay.